Hello and welcome to Facebook Live. I am Kendra Ruth from the Hero Spouse, and I will be answering your questions about midlife crisis. I believe I received, I thought I had 8 here, see, but it says 7. I thought there were 8, but it says 7 in the number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we'll see if we can get through all of those today. That is my goal. And before let's get started with our business, I'm going live in 3 places. I'm going live on YouTube. I'm going live in a Facebook group that is private and a Facebook group that is public. If you're in the private group or the public group, I will put a message in the chat portion of each group because your comments are private if you're posting in the private group, but they are public and others can see them if you post a comment to me in the chat in the public group. So hold on for a moment while I go post which group you're in. In addition to that, in that comment, I will be posting a link to my free course, Understanding Midlife Crisis. Understanding Midlife Crisis is free. It is the course that I offer to get you out of the why is this happening stage and introduce you to what's going on. My online membership, not free, closes tonight at 9 p.m. I will also be putting a link to that in the comments. Hold on a second. I'm still looking for my, there, no wait, my links. There it is. My online course also includes, it is a membership, which includes group meetings. We meet 4 days out of the 5 weekdays. And we meet for 2 hours twice a week. And the other time it's a 30-minute session. I just stick around for an hour, but it is designated as a 30-minute session. One of those is longer sessions as a group coaching. The short ones are like short group coachings. The other long one is meant to be as a detachment discussion. Often it is meanders into a regular group coaching as well, but we do try and get it into detachment. Also included in the course is my online course, and in the membership is my online course, Detach and Thrive, because detachment is the most important, in my opinion, the most important healing tool in your healing toolbox. And so I have a 5-week online course on detachment. You do not need to be present. It is online. It is a self-study course, but then you can come into the group meetings and you can talk about the course and you can ask questions about the course. And within this course, I have embedded mindfulness studies because mindfulness, in my opinion, is the key to detachment. Okay, so I'm so busy talking that I'm not good at multitasking. I haven't gone in and refreshed my screen to put the comments in. So give me a moment here. Everything is coming in through. Good. And if you have any problems hearing me or anything, let me know. Also, feel free to ask questions in the comments. I may or may not get to them, but go ahead, ask, and I will do what I can. Okay, so first comment has been put up in, okay, wrong. I just put it in the private group. I just put the wrong comment in, so hold on. Delete. Hold on. Sorry, but my screen had to refresh for a moment. And there we go. Okay. That one came through. Sorry for confusing everyone. Unfortunate, that is the worst part about this, is it always takes, the first little bit takes a lot of time just getting all of the business out of the way. Okay, So, good. Let's get started. Our first, we have an anonymous female left behind and forward moving spouse. She has a bomb drop of January 31st, 2023, a date of marriage of 2011. She has an at-home MLCer who is a low-energy wallower. She said last Saturday, and let's see, some of these, it doesn't necessarily mean last Saturday. I may have received some of these before that. So it could have been the Saturday before. Last Saturday, he came home late and very drunk from a friend's and started crying like never before. He started saying he's tired of everything, tired of life. He said he made a mistake in the past, but he's not doing anything wrong anymore, meaning he's not having the affair anymore. He said he had a great day with his friends, but got this sad the second he stepped home, not knowing why. He said he felt the need of being at his dad's birthday party, who lives in another city. Then he fell asleep and never talked about it again. But he was down for many days. Blood pressure went high, and he's under treatment. He wasn't supposed to drink like that. Being cheated on, plus now feeling like our home and I are the reasons for his. He's now feeling like our home and I'm the reason for his unhappiness. It's just too much. I don't know why he doesn't leave if that's the way it is. I'm kind of keeping smart contact because I feel so drained. I'm wondering, is it worth it? My dad passed away 2 months ago. I'm sorry. And it was sudden. And I've been taking care of my mother who's sick. So let's see. You have an at-home at-home MLC who is a low energy wallower. When they're at home, we don't know necessarily. Sometimes we can tell a little bit, but we don't always know what contact type they are going to be. So, is it worth it? First thing, only each person can determine that for themselves. And the other thing is, we might say, well, it's worth it if it works out, and then if it doesn't, was it not worth it? There's a risk that's involved in all of those. And kind of like saying, well, I spent so much money on the lotto and won, and my neighbor spent so much money on the lotto, exactly the same amount, and didn't win. Well, it was worth it for one of you, but you spent the same amount. And we have to determine that. So, clinging boomerangs are going to be more likely to reconcile. He's already still home. Has he been high energy while at home? No, you said he's low energy. Low energy is really difficult to deal with. So the first thing I think you need to do before you determine whether it's worth it is, I think you need to have greater distance. You need that greater distance to figure out yourself, figure out your healing, and what that's going to look like and what that's going to feel like, and what it feels like once you are healed. Because you need to get to a place of healing so that you can make that kind of a decision. Forget the is it worth it, but the what do I want decision. Do I want it is the decision. And do I want it? If it comes back, if he comes back, is that what I want? So we don't know that he will. If we reconcile, is that what, if the choice is in front of me, I could take and I could say yes to either. Yes to reconcile, or I could say yes or no. And it was all my choice. What would I do? What do I want if it were just me making the choice? You need to get to that point rather than saying, is it worth it? Because I want you to do what you want. Then, when you're working from what you want and the goal you want, then it's going to be worth it. But you have to also work within those risks. Know the odds. So if you had somebody who was, we'll not say vanisher, because vanishers, sometimes it feels like they dropped off the face of a flat earth. But let's say you had a boomerang. Your boomerang texts you regularly, and you see your boomerang all the time because you have children. And their children are still under the age of 18. Maybe you have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. And there has to be contact. And so you feel like, well, they're not clinging. They're not showing you this emotional connection. They're not showing they don't seem to need to be reassured that I'm still there. And then there's the other, maybe your neighbor. Say you've got an MLC neighborhood, has a clinging boomerang, and that one is needing them to know, are you still there for me? That's their security blanket. Completely different profile. but still has the same amount of contact. And that neediness, well, we don't like the neediness part. We don't like the idea of the codependence. But if we can work with it, and if we can set some structure and boundaries around it and help them become interdependent, they still may be more likely to return. A boomerang, also, that isn't showing the needies, more likely to return. We can work with that than we could with a vanisher, because a vanisher isn't even trying to contact us. They're out of contact. So you have somebody who you have regular contact with, but you haven't separated. You haven't gotten enough possibility or chance for detachment. So that's what I want you to work on, is getting more opportunity to detach and to heal so that you can make a better decision. Because I can't tell you whether it's worth it, because it was worth it. The risk was worth it in my situation. But are you spinning your wheels? There are some situations where I look at the situation and I don't ask, gosh, Lord, why are you doing this? I don't do that, because I know and I get it. But I do feel like in this situation, it's not. And then I see another person right over there, and to each other, they might even not recognize the differences. And I see it is. And for some, maybe it's the levels of narcissism I'm sensing. And maybe it's the history with those. Maybe it's the levels of narcissism and difference and the history with that and vanishment. All of the dynamics are different. Maybe it's levels of abuse. And all of these have to do with history as well. How much of it is a sudden change? How much of it was avoidant before? Now, also, you have to look at what is the level of trauma? And then, are they going to come through that trauma? So is it worth it? It's worth it. Of course, it's worth it if you win that lotto. It's worth it. Now, the next thing I want you to know is it is not rainbows and unicorns afterwards. It's real. I have a real marriage. I don't have a rainbow and unicorn marriage. We're functional. We don't always get along. We co-parent. We parent together. I parent a bit more. I parent a lot more. A lot more. But we're in those doldrums where we have young kids. I mean, the youngest is about to turn 7. The oldest is about to turn 12. And there's 5 of them. So we're in that period now, because we got started late, where it's the child rearing, where you feel that, and you really feel the stress and the anxiety and the chaos of it. It's real. It's not rainbows and unicorns. It's not that fantasy. It's not the Hollywood movie ending. So is that worth the risk if you're not going to get this perfection that doesn't exist also? You have to weigh all of these things. But I think you're going to be better able to weigh them when you have taken that grace period for healing. And that's what I think that standing, I really promote standing when a person wants it. Then before that, I promote standing as, you know what, you aren't healed enough to make a decision like that yet. It's just, I really think you're too fragile. And because of that, what if you make a decision that you regret? That's what it is. If you make a decision you're not going to regret, then big deal. But how do you know you're not going to regret it? And so when we make a decision in haste, we might do something we regret. And so I want us to put the decision on the back burner. We focus on what we need to do with healing ourselves so that we get ourselves to a place where now we can think through the decision. Then we can make the decision. Is standing worth the risk for something where the odds are sadly not in our favor? So get yourself healed. Get yourself to a better place. You're only a year past bomb drop, okay? Okay, let's move on to number 2. Number 2, we have a female left behind and forward moving spouse with a bomb drop of August 2023, August 26, 2023, a date of marriage of 2018, and she's not familiar with either contact type or energy terms. She said he had an emotional/physical affair. So that would be a physical affair for 2 years with a coworker. He still works with her. although they switched shifts, he switched shifts, so that I'm assuming they don't work together. They just work for the same company now. Within the past 2 months, he wants to move away now. One day he wants me to go with him. The next day he doesn't. This is normal, okay? He won't commit to me. He will not make me feel safe or secure, even when I ask. Okay, I'm going to call you on that in a minute. So let's make sure I get back to that. Admitted he knows I'm asking and he isn't doing it. So he's admitted that he hears me and he still is basically refusing. Okay. He says he loves me but isn't in love with me. I asked about the alienator, if there's still a thing, and he said he still cares for her and acted like I'm supposed to accept that. He will ignore me one day and then be very lovey and inviting me out the next. I can't take this yo-yo anymore. He said the one thing keeping him here is me, but he won't commit to me. Why? What did I do? When will he wake up? Okay, so we're going to go over a few things. First thing, wake up. I know what you mean by wake up, but when the awakening is not what you think. Waking up isn't what you think it is. So when there's an awakening, it is a realization of WTF, what have I done with my life and who have I hurt? Oh my God, I did a whole bunch of horrible stuff. I had better run away from this. The waking up is what sends them into liminality. It is what sends them into depression, the next stage after escape and avoid. So yes, you want them to wake up because that's progress. But waking up isn't when do they come out of MLC? Okay. So next I'm going to take you back. First thing, I think a lot of your problems or your questions are based on not understanding. I'm not about MLC, but a fair recovery, which we might not even be in. Okay. So the first thing is he won't commit to me. He will not make me feel safe or secure. Okay. Now, this is something for both of you. First thing, it's the phrasing you're using. He will not make me. Now, he doesn't get that. He doesn't have the power to make you feel safe or secure. But what he does have the power to do is help you, facilitate you, conditions, do things to help you feel secure. And he's not doing that from what you're saying and describing. He is not even acknowledging. He's not feeling the empathy for your plight and what you've gone through. But he could be doing everything perfectly, and sometimes you as a left behind spouse or somebody else, a left behind spouse, still might not feel safe and secure. And so, in other words, he couldn't make her do it because he did everything within his power to make it happen. And the person who betrayed did all of the right things and they still couldn't make their spouse feel better. Because the other person, you in this case, still has to heal on your own too. Sometimes we get broken and we're broken and we have to take charge of our healing. The other person has to acknowledge their sins and take accountability and responsibility for what they've done and do some things with us and in their relationship with us that can help us. Now, clearly he's not doing that. So when I call you out on that is it's calling out on the language, okay? So I want the language of make me taken away. And he won't help me. He doesn't acknowledge that I need to feel safe. He doesn't seem to care. He doesn't seem to want to help me feel safe or realize that I don't feel safe, even though I've said it. He doesn't get it yet. And or when he does get it, he doesn't know how. He doesn't know what to do. It's above his pay grade. That's why. Because some of the what to do, it takes a trained psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor, therapist, somebody specializing in a fair recovery to guide two people through this sort of thing. Getting through it on your own, The people who say they do it, yeah, a lot of those marriages really don't. They limp through it. They don't do well. And a lot of them, well, let's say you find a couple and they say, yeah, we made it through. And we did it without therapy. They're divorced 10 years after that, though. We made it, and then you do a statistic where we check in 5 years later. They're still together. It looks like a success. Check in 7 years later. We're still together. Or the marriage just isn't great anymore. It's just not. Because they didn't get the help they needed. And now they're clicking themselves as a success, but it's not thriving. So, because they didn't do the work that a professional could guide them through. So he will not commit to you. He doesn't have the ability right now. He's too lost, too confused, too guilt-ridden, too shame-filled. Okay? Everything that you are asking is above the pay grade of both of you. It's a therapist's pay grade, and it's somebody who specializes in couples. And not only in couples, but in couples with infidelity. So here's what, and he is probably saying, no, I won't go to therapy. Well, there's a few things that is. Therapy is a litmus test. It is a litmus test for whether they're ready to do the healing work to recover and to help you. And so when they say they won't, you go without them. Say, well, I'm going. I care enough about our marriage that I'm going. You're welcome to join me. And you find an emotionally focused therapist. EFT, emotionally focused therapy, was a therapy designed specifically for a fair recovery. That was its purpose. So look up an EFT and find it somebody who specializes in that. He doesn't understand, and when he does understand, he thinks you won't get over it, so you might as well not talk about it. You might as well rug sweep. You might as well try and forget about it. And why can't you just stop harping on about it and bringing it up? Because when you bring it up, you just become a puddle on the floor, and it makes him feel worse. And then he gets angry. And then he lashes out at you. And then you become a puddle on the floor. But you were already a puddle on the floor a moment before. And do you see how we're cycling, making a cycle of it? He's an angry monster and you're a puddle. And now you're a puddle, so he monsters more because now he's feeling more disgust now. And he does his disrespect, or I don't even want to call it disrespect, but I want to call it a lack of respect. He is no longer feeling respect that you are a person of respect because you're being needy rather than being somebody who is empowered. And so you don't look like a strong person. You look weak. Now, the question that I will often get with this is, but then why do they go for an alienator who needs to be rescued? Because they haven't rescued that person yet. So it's great. They can be the hero. They're living with you. Why aren't they? They're failing at rescuing you. And really, how many heroes want the reminder of their failure right in front of them every day? You have to rescue yourself. It's never been somebody else's job. He thinks you're supposed to accept that he works with her, and maybe or maybe not. That may be the case. I hate that. But you have to determine what the job is, whether he will ever leave it, whether you want to stand for this marriage, and what that means. Whether she will ever leave it, if they really are safe from each other on separate shifts. And for him caring about her or not in that way, feeling limerence for her, and that it was to him real, maybe you do have to accept that. Because maybe he does feel it was real, even if it was just chemical. He hasn't come through it all the way yet. And he hasn't come through it with the empathy for you. And forget the empathy, but the just the academic understanding of it, of what that does to you and how that eats at you and how you feel betrayed just by knowing he felt that way about somebody. Not even that he acted on it, but that he even felt it, the betrayal that meant. He's keeping you, he's staying there for you, which means there's a commitment, but he won't commit. He won't commit to continuing to stay And so it's always a state of limbo where you're always waiting for the next shoe to drop, even though he's been there. And it's not, stop asking, what did you do? Because what you did was you married somebody who cheated on you. Why is that your fault? Why? Because he had an affair. It's not you. So the two questions where you say, why and what did I do? Well, you obviously know the what do I do, or what do I do? What do? You get therapy. And like I said, when he doesn't go, you do. You learn about the affair. So I do want you to understand the healing process that you both have to go through, because sometimes there's a resistance between the two of you, because the healing you have to go through is going to bring things up again. And he's going to go, why does she keep bringing this stuff up again? It makes me feel bad to have to remember these things. And because I feel bad because I'm just being reminded of my sins and I'm over it now. And it makes her a puddle on the floor. But you have to process these things. You sometimes have to go through because you lost trust in yourself, because you lost the trust in your ability to trust. Now you don't know who to trust. Now when somebody looks at you and they are telling you an absolute truth, are they? He was telling you what you thought was the truth, but it was a lie. He was seeing her. He was lying about seeing her. He was lying about all these things. And your world fell apart because you trusted that. You thought that was truth. And now your detector is broken. And you don't know how to tell anymore what is real and what is not. And you need to go through and figure out how to do that again. And he doesn't understand that. That's a lack. You've lost. It's not about trust in him in this instance. That's there too. But it's a trust in your own ability to know whom to trust. And sometimes it's that thing that gets broken that really is the damage. How can I ever learn to trust again? That's not saying how can he become trustworthy again. He can become trustworthy again. Your ability to trust him again is based on you. He can't make you. That's where it's on your shoulders. He can become trustworthy and you can still choose not to extend trust to him. You can still be broken enough. And so your healing part, your not being broken, is going to be up to you. So what are you going to do to heal yourself, to mend those wounds that aren't about him when he's refusing, when he's not able to, when he's still himself so broken that he can't help you? Well, what do? You are, say, in an emergency room, and the emergency room where there are all sorts of broken people with broken bones, and your assistant, your husband, can't help you because he's broken and you have a broken bone, and the emergency room itself has just been hit with a bomb. So now the nurses and everybody else is wounded and you're one of them. But you can still sort of run around, whereas some of the people are not able to run, not able to move. What do? He can't function. You can function sort of. What do? That's where you are now. So you have to stop expecting him to help out in that. Maybe he can give little bits of help as he starts to heal. But he needs you right now, I think. He needs you to be an example. So you start being the example of healing and guide him through it. Okay? Get your therapy. If he doesn't go, you go. Okay, let's move on to number 3. I'm going to, while we go, I'm going to check in on the groups, okay? So just give me a moment while I check and make sure everything is working. Okay, good. Good, okay. Okay, so number 3, we have Nicole. Nicole has a bomb drop of November 20th, 2021, and a date of marriage of 2000. She has an off and on who is a high energy replayer. She says, my husband and I have been separated since November of 2021. That's when he moved out. I found out about the alienator in March of 2022. It's a long story, but I've recently found out a lot of information about their relationship. It was terrible, and she was physically abusive to him. They are in the process of breaking up, I think. There's a lot of back and forths. The only time he brings up divorce, that was in the beginning. Now he's brought it up twice in the last 6 weeks, saying once he gets his tax return, he's filing. Why now? Why now? Why not? So they're in the process of breaking up, but they're not broken up. A few reasons. And these are maybe each a reason, each could be contributing or none of them. Okay, they're all guesses. But he's in the process, so he's not really broken up because it's the process. So it's part of his way of getting her back by filing on you. Maybe she's told him he has to do it. Maybe it's a pining away. Look, I filed for divorce of my wife and everything. Maybe it's, I've effed up everything in my life, so I can't have everything. Maybe it's the I deserving. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve that. Maybe it's the depression and aftermath of a breakup. And so, again, back to the deserving. Other than that, I don't know why now, but have you considered asking him? You know, you haven't talked about this for a long time. And then you can also say, you know my views on it. And if this is the case, you can say, you know, any divorce we have isn't my divorce, it's your divorce, because this is not where I am. This is not what I think is best for us. It's not what I think is best for you or me or our family. And it's not something I'm going to agree on. Doesn't mean you're not going to be agreeable. And if he starts down that road, oh, you're going to create conflicts and say, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. Don't say that. That is not what I said. I said that I believe differently than you do. I believe that a divorce is not the best course of action. In fact, I believe that divorce is more damaging than what separation and then eventual we can get back together. I believe healing as a couple would be better for us. But I don't think you're ready for that yet. That's the next piece is, well, I don't want to do that, blah, blah, blah. I don't feel you're ready for that. So you reassure them in that sense. I don't feel you're ready for that. Now, why is he an alien? Why is he an off and on? He's never brought up divorce, he hasn't brought up divorce except in the beginning and then again recently. He's getting his tax return. I think it's more about the alienator. I think it's about this back and forth with her. I think it's about feeling humiliated. You said that the relationship was abusive. And he doesn't know how to come back from that. He feels embarrassed. He feels ashamed. And he doesn't deserve you. In fact, he feels he doesn't deserve anybody. And so he might as well just cut his losses and get it over with. And in the meantime, he's going to save you. Well, he does it because he's going to save you from him. Those are all things. So I think what you need to do is just say to him, you give him the reassurance. Hey, I haven't given up on you. Not only have I not given up on you, I haven't given up on us. You show him those things. I don't know how that'll go. But see how he responds to having somebody believe in him. Okay? Believe in him because he's not doing it for himself. Somebody's got to do the believing in him. Okay, let's move on to... Okay, now that's why I said there were 7, it was because the next number didn't work out. It was because of a paragraph issue. We're going to go on to number 4, and it is an anonymous female left behind in forward moving spouse with a bomb drop of July 2nd, 2019, a date of marriage of 2006. She has a clinging boomerang who's a low energy wallower. She says, how do MLCers come back from the horrible things that they say? How do they do it with themselves? How do they come back with and handle themselves? And how do they express it? And how do they express it to their victim, to me? Well, everyone's going to come back differently. So let's talk about, I can, in that very specific way, I can talk about what Chuck, how do they come back from the horrible things they said? First thing, there's a few different ways they're going to do it. How do you as a left behind forward moving spouse set that up for them through the crisis? So somebody who hasn't been there for them, and that could be because they don't allow you to be there for them. So they aren't as aware. You might be there going, I want them to know I'm here for them, and I don't know how to do that because they keep cutting me off. So it's not because you're not there. But somebody who has set it up and they are aware that they are open, have been allowed to show that they are non-judgmental and being grace, they probably don't have to worry so much about all of that because Chuck felt safe. I made sure that I was the safe place. Now I had to be careful because it also made it easy for cake eating. But even then I made sure. I understood what was going on, but I was still going to set boundaries with it. How do they express it to their victim? I was not going to have any of that pity party. And so he expressed his confusion. He felt safe expressing, and he felt safe doing it during. So I think how they do these things for you, and even for them, but especially for you, to you, expressing it to you, is going to be based somewhat on that, how it has been set up beforehand, how safe you have been before, because they won't know how to express it with you. They're going to be very shy and tentative coming in because of what you're going to say and do to them. And there have been times where you've wanted to lash out and tell them off, and there have been times you've been right to do it. And they know it, and they're afraid of it. And maybe they should be. They're going to get what they deserve. Oh my goodness, escape and avoid. So they have to, it takes a lot of courage for them to come up. Just even to say, I'm sorry. And then for them to say, I did something wrong. And then I was having an affair, and I can't believe I hurt you. I recognize this now. I'm so ashamed of myself. All of those things. How do they do it within themselves? They face themselves. They accept it. What do they say to themselves? They say a lot of shitty stuff to themselves. They're not worth it. And the hope is they have one of us. Have a spouse, have a mentor, a friend, a parent, a brother, sister, cousin, somebody who can say, you know what, you are worth it. You are worth it. And yeah, you fucked up, dude. But you're still worth it. Now, how do they do that within themselves? To do it within themselves, we really need a community. We really need to have experience that others will do it for us. Because imagine that you have lived your life in isolation, void of absolute love and all of that. Humans can't survive without that. So to have it for yourself, you have to have it from others to get it for you. That's how we have self-love. And they have to love themselves to be able to do that. I can't tell you the how piece when it actually is, if we're witnessing it, if we're taking a film of it. I'm not the director to direct that, of how they do that. I can tell you the bigger picture of they do it because other people are around them and they have a support system. It's kind of a cheesy answer. Okay. Okay, let's go on to number, that was 4, so now I have to change the numbering to number 5. Okay, we have an anonymous female, or male, left behind and forward moving spouse with a bomb drop of November 15th, 2023, a date of marriage of 2005. He has a boomerang who is a low energy wallower. He says, my wife moved out 6 weeks ago and hasn't told a lot of our mutual friends that we hang out with. Should I tell them? Or should I only tell them if I'm asked? It doesn't seem like she's excited to share her decision. No, they're not often. And her new life. Also, she's a lot closer with another mom she never cared for. You mean cared about? I mean, because I'm reading this differently now. Initially, when I read it, I thought I saw it as a mom of like her level, her mom age, but I now realize you're reading it another mom in the mom group. Okay. The lady is eccentric and has always been rather annoying. The friend is having marital problems, and now they even hang out together, which blows my mind. Oh, this is so normal. This is so normal. In 8 years of knowing her, they never did anything together. First thing, there's a contagion in divorce, okay? And she is, from what you said, she's in the same community mom group. So they would definitely cling on to each other. We're both having marital problems, okay? And it doesn't, forget the eccentric part. The two people that are having marriage problems will latch on. Yeah. I mean, the moms are all sitting at the park together and chatting, and the kids are playing. And what do they have to talk about? Well, they have something to talk about now, that even though they didn't before. So now they're going to latch on, and now they have formed a bond based on that even. And it could just be one's having fun, and so the other can, now they can have fun together too sometimes. But I can see them just forming this bond based on this mutual understanding of feeling whatever they are feeling in their marital problems. So does misery love company? Yeah. Similar. So an affair down. Friends down? Yeah. But I really think that they have something to bond on. Just even if whether the problems are similar or not, they can commiserate together. So we text almost daily, and I've noticed an anchor check if 2 days elapse with no contact. So I'm thinking that you say boomerang. She's probably even more of a clinging boomerang since you say anchor check. I would say, now that doesn't mean super clinging or anything like my husband Chuck was, because I wrote him as that prototype of super clinging. But a boomerang, they just contact you because they're supposed to. And by supposed to, I mean because you have children. I mean literally supposed to. Not because I'm your spouse, I was supposed to call you while on vacation. Like when Chuck and I, before we were separated, when I went off for my MFA retreat things, if it wasn't a retreat, whatever it was called, and I would be gone, and I'm supposed to call him. I was supposed to every night. And so I called because I was supposed to call. And so we call people because we're supposed to. And when you have kids, you're supposed to contact. Now, anchor checks, there's a neediness still. So she's checking. There's still something there. And she's even kind at times. And I'm not trying to get you too much in that hope zone of, but if 2 days elapse with no contact, she's an anchor check. She has to check in. She has to do something. Just keep up with it. Keep up with it. She's going to hang out with these moms. She's going to find divorce friends or friends that will enable the divorce lifestyle. It is a contagion. And so when Chuck was going through it, it wasn't that he found friends who were divorced, but he found friends that would support it. And I think it felt like guys were more like that, but I don't think they really were. Because he got the nickname Divorce Guy in this group, which he didn't last too long in the group. But when he started out in that group, in the very beginning, it was like he was all in on everything they wanted to do. I have to go. That group needs me. Oh, they need me. They are doing something tonight, and it was a mountain biking group. And they would go out with headlamps, and then people in the neighborhood were complaining about the noise after hours because it was headlamps. It was a dark night ride, and so he was going to the courthouse to talk for them and to speak for them. He just started with the group. It was becoming obsessive. They do that with these friend groups. They latch on quickly. They are all in. And so for a while, you'll see these friend groups that are like, wow, what just happened? Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 more. I am going to go on to 1, 2, 3 more. Yeah, good. We're cruising today. So number 6, we have Nick. It's been a while, hasn't it, Nick? Okay, so Nick has a bomb drop of February 20, 2020, a date of marriage of 2011. He has an off and on who is a low energy wallower. He says, what are the signs of acceptance? It's been 4 years since bomb drop and separation. She's still with the OM, but the last 6 months she's constantly telling me how sorry she is. She's tearful. How she had a good marriage but had to run away and it was nothing to do with me. Okay, that's good. How she had problems and should have talked to me. Yeah. He cheats all the time and lies, and she has told me he is clinging on and won't go. So he's clinging. Interesting. She spends time with me from time to time. Divorce is almost finalized, but I'm trying to work out what phase she's in and if this is her trying to test and see if I would take her back. See, I thought I had done it, so I didn't go on to the next page. So she has not directly said she wants to. Okay. So it feels a lot, and this is not a criticism. So I am saying this so that I want everybody to understand this. Nick, 2 years ago, was almost 2 years ago was the last time I answered one of your questions, because when I got all of these, there's quite a few repeats in here, and so I made a big list, and I've been listening to them and all of the repeats from you guys so that I could go back on the history and know what I was talking about. And you didn't ask about acceptance, but it looked like you were saying the divorce was almost finalized back then, and it sounded like I think she thought she was leaving him then. And she had just come over and done some chores for you, and you were like, why? She came over and asked if she could clean. She came over and wanted to ride with you with the kids. I tried to listen to the one before that, but I couldn't find it. So I only listened to one from 1.5 years ago about. So what my point of saying that is, not just for you, Nick, but for the others, is that phase where they feel like they're leaving the alienator, but also where they're really wanting to, but not quite reconnecting, but being nice to us and showing us their regrets and sometimes saying, I'm really sorry, I made a mistake. And we're wondering, are they asking us if we could get back together? But they're not asking yet. They haven't asked, but are they putting out a feeler? We got 1.5 years to 2 years. So it was about almost 2 years since the last one, but the question before the 2 questions ago for Nick was just over 2 years ago, and I think that one was like the same phase. Okay, so we could have that phase where you're like, oh my God, when is this one going to end? When are they going to just say it? When are they going to end that relationship? Because now it's clearly ending. It's in the process. So she's not directly said she wants to. I don't know about acceptance. I think she needs to end it to get there. Really. I think she needs to make a decision. Once she has been decisive, he's clinging on, and she has to be decisive. I don't know if I would say that she has hit that acceptance, hit integration, or at least gotten to the end where she can really say, I'm no longer in a crisis, until she has ended it with him and come through and processed the ending of that. She has to process that. And ending it with him, there could be a liminality piece of that comes through after that. Can't say. We have to watch and see what happens with it. Is she ready for it? Well, hell yeah, she is. You have been there with her for grace. You have been there. She is feeling safe with you. She tells you how sorry she is, that you had a good marriage. She tells you she had to run away. Now, the next question then is, she hasn't directly said she wants to be with you, and you're wondering if she's trying to test you. But does she know? What does she know about you? Are you willing to take her back, and does she know that? Does she know that's what you would want? Because I'm not seeing off and on. I mean, I know maybe that is because I haven't heard from you in such a long time. But maybe that is. And if honestly, if she really is an off and on, that would be so awesome because we don't get a lot of off and ons where we see them returning, and that would be just statistically so sweet. But it often makes me wonder, were they really? So I want you to hold on to this, and I want you to start asking her. Maybe you need to start asking her, should it be overt or more direct? I don't know. But let her know she has a place where she can be and she can feel safe. Is she afraid to leave him? He's clinging. But remember, and I don't know, you haven't said that it's dangerous or abusive. So I'm not saying that's a factor, but at the same time, the most dangerous time to leave a relationship for a relationship is when you leave. Abusive wise, is there something she's afraid of? Is she afraid that he will hurt himself, and so that's why she stays? Is he that type? What does she need to do to say, you know what, I can't be responsible? He's going to cling, and it's not my job. What was it I saw in him that made me leave my marriage? Why did I leave Nick for him? Did he seem stronger? Because he sure doesn't now. So sometimes maybe you have to tease some things out with truth darts. I don't know. But you have to do it gently in a safe way so she's feeling safe with you rather than interrogated. So there's a balance with that. It's hard to do, but that's what I would ask. Okay. Okay. Next we have an anonymous female. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Let's go to our numbering. We have number 7, anonymous female left behind and forward moving spouse with a bomb drop of September 25th, 2023, a date of marriage of 2005. He is still at home and a high energy replayer. Now, just in case, and since usually somebody says something in the comments, if somebody wants to say something so I know you're there, otherwise I'm just talking to myself, you can do that. But otherwise I will keep going. The alienator is an OnlyFan. Does that mean creator? I think it was. She lives 4 hours away. They visit once a month or take trips together. Recently, I pressed him to move out if he continues with the affair. Good. I like that. He later said he was sorry for hurting me and our teenage daughters. I'm assuming our teenage daughters? Yes, looks like it. And he said the relationship with her had no future. Well, that's true. And I like it when they... Okay, good. Thank you. Both of you. Thank you. I like it when they acknowledge that. I got that too. I got that, and then I got that I'm in love with her and she's my soulmate, like, maybe in the next breath. But I like it when they say, I can tell that there's no future here. I confronted him a few days later because I caught that he was still talking and messaged her. So remember, here's the one thing. When they say there's no future, it doesn't mean, okay, I'm ending it. It just means there's no future with her. It doesn't mean the affair's over. It means this isn't a permanent relationship. It doesn't mean I'm telling you it's not my... I'm not saying this is my soulmate. So, okay. Now he said for the first time that he regretted his, and she quoted, he regretted that he said it, called it his betrayal. Those were his words to me. He screwed up our relationship, lost my trust. Those again were his words, lost my trust, lost your trust. And he was thinking it will never be fixed. This is very common. And we're not talking MLC common. It's just you cheat on somebody, that's what you think. For the first time, he said he thinks maybe he is in a midlife crisis. Yay. Okay. I told him if he's willing to work on himself and prove by his actions, I may consider. I think you mean may reconsider? Okay. He is quiet. He's quiet. What is next? Do they keep running? I don't know what to do. He's at home, never wants to move out. He doesn't want to move out. He's good with the kids. With all of this saying and admitting about his behavior, Will he keep running? Yes. Okay, just I'll go on more. But as he said, after what he's done, he thinks there's no way out. No, we can go back to our marriage. So, first thing, if you were cheating on your spouse or did something terribly horrific, how would you feel about it? Would you feel like, oh my God, what? I can't come back from this. I want to hide. I'm ashamed. I don't want anyone to see my face. I'm so ashamed. They'll never forgive me. How could anyone forgive somebody for this? How could anyone forgive somebody as horrible as me? I don't want anyone to see me. I'm embarrassed. I hurt everybody. They're all going to hate me, not just him. And then I saw the pain. And let's add something to it. Let's say I saw this happen to my mother, and I saw what it did to her, and now I'm doing it. And so I know the pain that another can go through. Not because I've felt it, but because then I wouldn't have done it maybe. People do, but. And of course, why would anyone forgive that? The pain is so great. It broke her. So, yeah, they are ashamed and they think that broke that person. So I have to run. I have to go. I have to leave. I mean, similar to how somebody with suicidal ideations, sometimes they think, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave this world because first thing, I don't want to be here and I'm in pain, blah, blah, blah. But they also say, everyone would be so much better off without me. And the reason we call it a selfish choice, it's not always. I mean, if you're terminally ill and in constant pain, it's not always a selfish choice then. But we call it a selfish choice is because of the damage that it does to those left behind, having to deal with being the family who of the suicide. Do we call them a victim? Because the family are the victim. The suicide choice maker. And imagine first that you're the 16-year-old son of the person who decided to take their life. And you're the 16-year-old son of the person, and you found them. And they chose to go by hanging. Or they chose to go by eating lead. And when you eat it, it blows the back of you up. And the 16-year-old found that. And so what does that do to that 16-year-old? And then what does it do to the 12-year-old sibling who runs in after when they hear their 16-year-old brother screaming? What does it do to, that's what we call it selfish. And then they leave their family and, well, what the suicide victim wasn't thinking of is, well, what is my family going to do without me when I'm no longer here to work and pay bills? And so they don't have a source of income now. Or their mom is now down to one income instead of the two we had. And now she's a single mom. And they have to move house because they can't afford the house. So not only have they lost their parent. And so the person who has done the betrayal thinks these things if they're better off without me also. They may not usually be doing the suicidal ideation. We have those, but that's not common. But they're like, you're better off without me. And because we can't overcome it. But look at all the things that you're not better off with. Just in transactional. I don't like to be too transactional, but in transactional. 2 incomes are better than 1. Or 1 income and a stay-at-home parent is better than 1 income where instead of the stay-at-home parent, now the at-home parent has to go out and work and latchkey children, or we have to find a daycare, but we can't afford the daycare, so the mom, and so now we have to move house because of the poverty, because we can't afford the house. Mom is not there to help with the homework. Now mom is more stressed. It adds to all these things. Teenage pregnancies goes up, dropout rates increase, less college, fewer go to college, and if they're dropping out, how are they going to college? The income, salaries are lower. They are more likely themselves to go through divorces. Success and the livelihoods and I don't know that I'm going to use an unofficial term, joy rates of people, the thriving levels of people into adulthood who are children of divorce are going to be lower as a group. I'm a child of divorce. I'm great. But I'm not a statistic. I'm an individual. One person isn't a statistic. Sure, some of us, many of us, survive and thrive. But, also many of us who survive and thrive had to work harder to do it. My mom is the one who had to work harder to do it. My mom had a village to help her. Thank God. And she had a co-parenting dad. Because my mom and dad did co-parent together. But he's feeling guilty and he wants to run and he doesn't understand the aftermath. And he doesn't understand all of these things. He's going to keep running. He's going to keep running because he's in a midlife crisis. Okay. All of those reasons. He is at home, never once. Is he gonna stay at home? I can't tell you. He's as a high energy replayer. Maybe not. We'll see. Because MLCers leave. It's kind of axiomatic. They leave. It's what they do. And it hasn't been quite a year. I consider them a long-term at-homer if they stay home 12 months. And he's approaching that, but he's not there yet. And you also need to get to the point where you decide, you know what, he's been having an affair. And I think you made that right decision when you said, I've said he needs to leave. If he's having an affair and you know it, and then he knows you know it, and you don't do anything about it, then he knows you're allowing him to stay at home while having an affair. So that's the right choice. But now what are you going to do about it? Just because he says he's regretted it, what does that mean? Oftentimes they say they regret it, but then, and they do. Don't get me wrong, they regret it. But what actions are they going to take to stop doing it? Regretting it and stopping doing it aren't the same thing. Alcoholics might regret the whiskey while downing it. It doesn't mean they don't regret it just because they're doing it. Somebody who is committing a terrible act against another person might feel bad while committing the act. Somebody who's abusive might feel, terrible while committing the abuse. It's terrible. They're ridden with guilt, but regrets don't stop the regretful action. So what are you going to do? You need to set up the boundary. And you are right. One of those main boundaries is going to be, he can't live there. Because yes, he's going to keep running. If this is a midlife crisis, he's going to keep running. And midlife crisis, bomb drop, it started at bomb drop, not the crisis itself, but the time clock. And it goes 3 to 7 years. The time clock, 3 to 7, upwards of 7. And so you are in the beginning. And so yes, you base it on, if you're looking at a midlife crisis, you don't look at what he says, I regret myself, so that means I'm going to stop running. In fact, once you regret, maybe you start running more. I have so many regrets, I'd better run away because I'm a bad person. Okay. So if you have not gone through understanding midlife crisis, or if you have, go get a refresher, because they're going to keep running, and they're going to keep running, and they're going to keep running. He is escape and avoid, and he's going to keep doing it. Okay. I'm feeling like I've missed some things in this one. But let me know. Okay. Just let me know. And the never be fixed stuff. That's what I went through, I think, on the previous one, is that's how they feel. It's not understanding what it takes to heal. And he's not going to understand that now. And he doesn't want to understand it now because it's going to take so much. Okay. Let's go on to our last one so that we make sure to get to it. Okay. And we had one more than this, but any Thrive ones, just because of time, I'm going to do for our Thrive group. Okay. So, and any other submissions that have come in the last few minutes or anything like that, I will be going out. I will do my regular pre-recorded live streams. I put them out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I pre-record them. and schedule them to go out. One on Monday, one on Wednesdays, one on Fridays. Not tomorrow, Friday, but on weeks that I don't do Facebook Live. Okay. So we have an anonymous female left behind and forward moving spouse with a bomb drop of February 26, 2023. A date of marriage of 2012. She has a vanisher who is a low energy wallower. She says when my wife moved out in April of 2023, she was a clinging boomerang. We still met for dinners and texted. She filed for divorce in October, and then she went no contact with me and blocked my number in November. Is this normal for them to go from clinging to vanisher? She still sees my teenage daughter, her child, by taking her to school every day, but she has no contact with me. What stage does this happen in? She sold our house now and will be divorcing this month. I'm standing, but it's starting to feel like there's not much hope. So first thing, when you're only a year in and just outside of a year in, you're not going to feel like there's much hope. Okay. Remember, MLC gets worse before it gets better. Second, you have a female MLCer. So female MLCers are more likely to vanish and more likely to be when they are at home. You don't know what type they're going to be, but they're more likely to be distant contactors. That would be off and on or vanisher after they move out than male. I don't mean that more of them become distant in general. I just mean than their male counterpart. A male who is at home for that first 12 months, I measured on that, who was one that was an at-homer and just lingered at home and didn't leave. When that one leaves, they're more likely to be a close contactor. But the female counterpart, more of them are going to be distant contactors than the males when they leave. And so what you're seeing is some of that change as well. Women overall, I think I'd have to look at the statistics, are more likely to be distant contactors. And so I think that's some of what you're seeing. I don't know that it's so much what stage it happens in as it's happening as she progresses. She moved out in April and you were still seeing each other. So that didn't happen specifically with the move out. Filed for divorce in October, and that's when she went no contact. She blocked you in November. But normally, I do not say it is normal, because no, I don't see that as normal. But I think that we do see it more with a female MLCer than I would with a male MLCer, just because of, and I really think of it, especially around the dynamic of move in, move out, to see, because we don't know what they're going to be like until they move out, because when you're in the same house, you have contact. But I do think it is less abnormal for a female, but I wouldn't put it fully as normal either. If you're following what I mean. But so you can ask me more about this and I'll just be more confusing. I know. So like I said, I don't know what stage it's in, but we can go over more of this a little bit later if you'd like to. Okay, because we are 8 minutes in, I have a kid to get to counseling, and I will see you all and all the other questions. Okay, bye-bye.